Good morning and welcome to Master Trader, where you can learn to use simple market and stock analysis to make money investing and trading. I'm Greg Capra. We're going to look at the markets as we usually do in the morning. When I had a request from a viewer here on YouTube about how to trade momentum, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Let's just go through the markets first. So the markets have pulled back here over the last few days, and are they at a possible, at least short-term turning point? Overall, this market is going nowhere, meaning we've got a high of the year and a low of the year, and the market is trading relatively in the middle of that range, and it's been whipping back and forth, and now it's pulled back for a few days. And this is actually the current day that's trading right now, since the futures are 24 hours trading. So this is what's happening in the moment. As you can see, it's pretty much nothing. Even though they're down, well, 4 points, but trading inside of yesterday's range. So day before yesterday was a wider range bar, kind of a climactic bar into this little shelf of support here. The major support is down in this area here. It's holding here. If it can get above yesterday's high, well, that opens up the door for a move to the upside. Now, the angle at which this came straight down, as it did, doesn't usually lead itself to some type of a momentum move to the upside. However, today is a news-related type of day, FOMC announcement around 2 o'clock. And if it's viewed to be favorable, markets could find some legs to the upside and push higher. If it's not, well, that could open up the door to a move down here. So as far as the market goes itself, it's probably going to be a good time to whatever trades you do to get them done in the morning and then stand aside and see whatever the gyrations might be afterward. Now, the Nasdaq market looks quite different, meaning it's in an uptrend. It made a new high here, and it's pulled back into this support area. The 50 MA is a widely followed focal point on indices, and this is a simple period moving average. Some like exponential. I just found that simples are more widely followed, so I want to follow what the majority is. You'll see some people put simples and exponentials, and those are the people with the holy grail type of mindset, thinking that, you know, the more indicators, lines and such are better. Clarity is better, removing the noise. Okay, and then the Dow looks even different from the other two. And that in of itself is a message that this market is indecisive. It's choppy. It doesn't really know what it wants to do here. So trading the broader markets from this point of view that this time really doesn't make a whole lot of sense unless you're a day trader, you know, and you can trade it intraday. Even that, you'd be better off trading probably individual stocks or currencies or whatever it is that is actually moving with some real authority and intention behind the participants. I'm just looking at, and I haven't looked at these in a little while, but the Australian dollar, is breaking lower, and that's got some momentum to the downside now, and there's really not much here to stop it from moving lower. So this is something that would be of interest, but it's already down multiple days in a row. Yen futures are grinding up, so it really doesn't have momentum, but it has a trend. Momentum is slowing down. Notice the distance between the highs. They're getting closer, so that tells me that momentum is slowing down. We don't use indicators for knowing this. We just look at the price action. You don't need indicators. Euro, sloppy. We got a market here that's going sideways. Which way will it go? Taking out the highs or taking out the lows would be a good indication of the direction. British pound. So as we're seeing here, we really don't have anything that has true momentum. More of choppy type of price action. It goes in one way, then it goes the other way. Canadian dollar. Here's momentum. Right? So this started with a wide range bar down. It retraced up into minor resistance. Reversal back to the downside. Up into minor resistance. The 200 simple period moving average was a focal point. It failed and the momentum moved down. Now, one of the things to take note of is that when you have a reference point, like the 200 MA, and it fails, many times it's going to fail badly because this widely followed line brings in buyers, especially after multiple bars down, and when it fails, they're going to exit their long positions. And recognizing the potential for momentum is one of the first steps in trading momentum when it happens. So you have to develop a bias and recognizing when it's possible, and then recognizing when it's actually happening. So here it's actually happening, wide range bar starting to the downside. And how to trade this? Well, sometimes the momentum is so strong that you don't get a retracement like there was here. And what you need to do if you're going to trade this is move to a smaller time frame of choice. Now let's just take a look at a stock recently that started picking up some momentum, and I've been talking about this stock for probably a year or two, calling it in a death trend, and that is GPRO, which was a huge winner some years ago. But whether the technology has become outdated, who knows what's going on here, similar to General Electric that is collapsing even and more so. But here's a stock that is in a downtrend, and one of the things to recognize is that when a stock goes sideways like this after a decline, and you see large green bars like this that have no follow-through, that's a bad sign. When you see breaks to the downside and then they come up and they see going sideways, it just means that the sellers just keep coming. Right? So now here's the breakdown. So we develop a bias by the fact that this cannot rally. And as a visual aid, we use moving averages, and it's the 50 and the 200. And when they start to get tighter together, it's a visual aid that says that this consolidation is getting ripe and the move should start. Now, could it have started to the upside? It could, but it's in a downtrend and it's got room to go lower. It can go down to 0. And here it begins to drop. Now, how to get on board that? Well, as I said, first you've got your bias as it begins to break down. Now you have to move to a lower time frame. Now forget the moving averages for a moment, but recognizing here was the base on an intraday time period, the 60. That's my choice. And this pattern right here is one in which is tradable according to our rules. And here is a topping tail bar. And prices are a little far from resistance, but a topping tail bar is an attempt to go higher, and the bar tells us that sellers took control again and push it down. We'll sell that breakdown in this type of a pattern, and here was a break lower. We can also go down to a 5-minute chart. And so here's where that break lower began, and this is another setup where you had a move up into that resistance and then that reversal. Now here we really don't have any setups because it's just flowing to the downside. And if you don't get in on a setup, what master traders do is just stand aside and just accept the fact that you did not get in at the appropriate time, so you stand aside. So that's some of the ways that you can participate and recognize in momentum, potential for momentum beginning. By recognizing the patterns, one of the things that we also look for is what I call a tradable void. So even going to the weekly time frame, I see in the near term here, looking to the left, there's nothing. There's no support. There's nothing to stop this. There's no reference points. So for example, this bottoming tail bar right over here that happened in 2017. As prices retested that, traders have a reference point where buyers showed up before. And the assumption is that buyers will show up again. And we see that they did, but ultimately it couldn't get very far. And that's another bearish sign and one of the recognizable traits of a death trend. And GPRO looks like it is slowly dying. So I hope that helps. And if you're interested in learning more, mastertrader.com. Check out Master Trader Technical Strategies, one complete course to teach you how to trade anything in any time frame, which includes gap trading, trader psychology, money management, everything that you need to learn to be a professional trader or investor. Good trading, everyone.